Hello my friends, this is part 7 of my series about BMW's R1100S. In this segment, I am going to speak about aftermarket accessories. We must remember the S has 8 more horsepower than the RS, and 70% of that increase came from the exhaust. The other 30% is from an increase in compression and changes to the intake, mainly from using the R1200C cylinder heads. There isn't much room for improvement here without breaking the bank. But if you're the rich guy who has to have the fastest R1100S in town, keep watching. Ergonomics. Comfort. Hands, feet, and seat, the important parts. The first S models had the handlebars mounted under the upper triple clamp. BMW fitted them with the same grips that were used on the previous oil heads, which were originated with the K1 model. These grips are great. Heated or non-heated, they're the same diameter outside, so they feel the same under your hands. However, on the first S models, as I said, BMW mounted the handlebars below the upper triple clamp. Luckily for owners of such bikes, Rapid Dog came out, designed and manufactured bar risers for this bike, which moved the handlebars from below the upper triple clamp to above the upper triple clamp. Randy no longer makes these, but there's over 800 sets of these sold to happy customers. So if you have one of those earlier S's and you find it to be uncomfortable, you might be able to find a set of Randy's bar backs out there still. Feet. You could install a foot peg lowering kit. The foot peg lowering kit, however, is going to decrease your lean angle. Remember, this bike with stock suspension was designed for a 47-degree lean angle. If you lower your foot pegs, you are going to reduce that somewhat. You may also find, depending on the manufacturer of the foot peg lowering kit, some interference with the side stand deployment tang. Seat. I have an old saying from the old days, there's an ass for every seat and a whole lot of seats to choose from. And everybody's got a different can, so you're going to have to make your own decision on what's the best seat for you. Moving on to suspension. With the original standard height suspension, the bike was designed for a 47-degree lean angle. With the optional wider rear wheel and the taller sport suspension, that could be increased a bit. Adjustable paralever link on the back can make your steering quicker. If you're of reduced inseam and you need a shorter, lower R1100S, you could buy shorter shocks. But beware of how short you go. I'll show you here an example of a K1200RS that came into my shop with shocks the customer supplied. That they were adamant they wanted me to put those on no matter how low that bike got. Much room under there. And that fender, this is a comparison. I mean, it's getting my finger. Oof, that's going to be ugly. Okay, K1200 GT, we just put extremely short hyper shocks on it. With a little tiny amount of clearance in the fender. Can't even put it on the side stand as the pictures can take and show how low side up the street. It's going to be pretty scary cornering. Careful turning. Dangerous. Don't go too low. You're going to reduce that 47-degree lean angle drastically every little bit you go down. I'm not a fan of reducing my cornering ability. You know? More is better. BMW offered a sport suspension that raised the S about 1.5 inches and gave it a couple more degrees cornering clearance beyond the 47 degrees it was designed to have with the stock suspension. Virtually any aftermarket shock is going to be better than the factory suspension at this point. You have a multitude of aftermarket suppliers of shock absorbers. You can get them custom made or put them on right out of the box. The choice is yours. Do your research, open your wallet. The ride improvement will be noticed immediately, especially if you're putting shocks on a machine that's 20 years old at this point. New shocks go a long way to putting a bigger smile on your face and more miles under your butt. Performance. Remember, we have 8 horsepower gained over the R1100RS engine. And of that 8 horsepower, 70% of the increase came from the exhaust. Let's go from the airbox side. BMW has a larger air intake tract on the S than it did on the RS. And they also designed a special air filter for this engine to optimize the horsepower increase. That pleated paper air filter is the way to go. I'm not telling you have to use the OEM BMW pleated paper filter. There's others available for less money that are just as good, if not better. I would stay away from those. I'm going to make some people mad. K&N air filters are no good. Don't use a K&N in your BMW. I'll give you a simple example why. Way back when these bikes were new and they would come in for a service at the dealership, if the bike has the factory air filter in it, the mechanic's going to open up the air box, remove the old air filter, vacuum out your air box, wipe out any other debris that may be left in there, date your new paper air filter with a marker, put it back in your air box, and reassemble. If you have one of those K&N type filters, then the mechanic's going to open up your air box, have to take the air filter out.
Into the intake system tube. Liberally spray both sides of the filter with K&N Power Clean Air Filter as part of the K&N Recharger service kit. Allow the filter to set for 10 minutes, but do not let the cleaner dry on the filter. Using a cool, low-pressure water source, rinse the filter from the clean side out, making sure to rinse out all dirt and contaminants. Continue to rinse the filter until the water runs clean. It may be necessary to repeat the process. Do not use pressure washers or garden hose nozzles to rinse the filter. Gently shake the filter to remove excess water and set aside to dry naturally. Do not use compressed air or heating elements to speed the drying process. Once the filter is completely dry, it is ready for re-oiling. K&N air filter oil is available as either a squeeze bottle or an aerosol spray. If using the squeeze bottle, apply a thin bead of oil to each pleat of the filter. If using the aerosol spray, hold the can 2 to 3 inches from the filter and spray along each pleat. Allow the oil to absorb for approximately 20 minutes and touch up any light areas until the filter is a consistent salmon red color. Reinstall the air filter back into your vehicle. Proper maintenance of your K&N air filter will ensure that you continue to get superior airflow and superior performance.
As for K&N air filters, I know that's going to piss off a whole bunch of people who think their bikes are faster with their K&N in it. You're pulling in more air, but you're not putting out more exhaust. You're pulling in more air, you're not adding more fuel, you're not putting out more exhaust. You're pulling in more dirt through that air, because that K&N filter has notoriously, in every test done that I'm aware of, shown to flow more dirt through it than any other filter. Paper filter is the way to go if you want this engine to last a long time. There's no benefit to the K&N filter. None. More noise to your ears, seat of the pants racing and all of that. You know, you put it on a dyno, you'll see that it's not doing it. You want more power? You're not going to gain any horsepower by an air filter. If you're going to bring in more air, you would also have to add more fuel, and you would have to dump the exhaust out quicker. There's nothing to be gained from the air filter here. Use the stock air filter. There are aftermarket air filters that are of the same design as the stock one, and I do recommend using those. Spark. You can put a computer chip in these bikes. You can put a computer chip in a whole bunch of BMWs. Seat of the pants horsepower. There's a whole bunch of exhausts out there, from wild to mild and loud to not loud. And you want power? Do you have money? Do you have lots of money? Well, if you have lots of money and you want lots of power, you might want to talk to those guys that know about performance upgrades to this bike. They've been messing around with turbos for a long time. They've been making BMWs go fast for a long, long time. So if you got the dough, they can make you go faster.
Of course, going faster can be achieved with a different motorcycle as well.
558, 223 miles an hour.
Save your money, people. Put the miles on the BMW. You want to keep the reliability up there. Remember, as performance increases, reliability decreases. Big performance gains are for big wallets only. Speaking of reliability, if you've got your basic stock S and you want to make some improvements to reliability, I would suggest the clutch with the longer splines, the left cam chain tensioner. You don't need the right side because the right side is inverted and it holds oil pressure naturally. And I'll give you a tip. Please avoid the use of LED bulbs and lithium batteries in these older bikes. They were never ever designed for that. My most recent #1 electrical diagnosis request has all been related to the recent installation of a lithium battery. These bikes were not designed for this type of battery. Use the lead acid as original, or the Westco battery. The BMW gel battery from back then didn't have as long of a service life as the standard lead acid battery, and the Westco battery beats both of those batteries combined. And it's less money. And you can get it from Beamer Boneyard while you order your cam chain tensioner, and you order your clutch with the extended splines, and whatever other parts you might need to keep your R11S on the road. That's going to wrap up this episode, my friends. Thank you very much to my patrons who have supported this entire project. I have over 100 hours in producing this video series about BMW's wonderful R1100S, and many requests to go on to other series of bikes. This all takes time. As I said, there's over 100 hours of time invested in this series. Doesn't pay very much. Pays very little. So thank my patrons for their support. Thank you to my YouTube viewers for giving me a thumbs up here. And if you're of the means and you want to support future video projects from me, please come over to Patreon. You can make a monthly contribution of whatever denomination you wish for whatever period of time you like. There are no obligations in the least bit. Thank you, my friends. Take care. You'll hear from me again soon. Good day.